In our headlines on this Friday, October 10th here in South Korea. North Korea is set to hold a major military parade, possibly tonight, to mark the 80th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. Eyes are now on whether Pyongyang's new long-range missile will be displayed at the event, which is expected to be attended by the second highest-ranking officials from China and Russia. South Korea's stock market closed at an all-time high today, as the benchmark KOSPI climbed above 3,600 points. But the Korean currency is weakening against the US dollar, now trading at a 5-month low. The Israeli government has approved a US brokered ceasefire resolution, which includes the release of all hostages held in Gaza. Israelis and Palestinians celebrated the potential end to the war, with US President Donald Trump saying Israeli hostages will likely be released early next week.
Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Peunji, filling in for Minseoni. We begin in North Korea, where a massive military parade could take place tonight, celebrating the 80th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. Marking the occasion, top officials from China, Russia, and Vietnam arrived in the North Korean capital to take part in the event. Our Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
North Korea is expected to hold a massive military parade in Pyongyang's Kim Il-sung Square to mark the 80th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. There had been speculation that the parade would take place last night on the eve of the anniversary, but so far there has been no official confirmation that the event was held. Attention is focused on what new weapons North Korea may unveil during the parade. The regime previously announced it was developing a new solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile known as the Hwasong-20, sparking speculation that it could make its debut in this anniversary event. If revealed, the Hwasong-20 would represent a major advancement in North Korea's missile technology, as solid-fuel ICBMs can be launched more quickly and are harder to detect than traditional liquid fuel systems. The parade is expected to feature high-ranking foreign guests, including top officials from China, Russia, and Vietnam, highlighting North Korea's deepening ties with its key partners. China's Premier Li Chang, the country's #2 after President Xi Jinping, arrived in Pyongyang on Thursday, marking the first visit by a Chinese premier to North Korea in 16 years. Russia has also sent a high-level delegation led by Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, who is often described as the country's second-in-command. In addition, Vietnam's Communist Party chief To Lam arrived in Pyongyang for a state visit, the first by Vietnam's top leaders since 2007. According to the Vietnam news agency, Lam and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un held talks and agreed to strengthen cooperation, elevate bilateral relations, and expand high-level exchanges across party, government, and regional levels. Pundits say the presence of top figures from China, Russia, and Vietnam signals North Korea's intent to showcase solidarity with its traditional allies at a time of growing geopolitical tensions. The parade would not only mark a milestone in the Workers' Party's history, but also serve as a powerful display of North Korea's military capabilities and its strengthening diplomatic ties with Beijing, Moscow, and Hanoi. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Ahead of the military parade, North Korea unveiled new strategic weapons at its arms exhibition. According to a report by South Korea's People Power Party lawmaker Yoo Young-won on Thursday, Pyongyang exhibited new submarine-launched ballistic missiles, along with new types of hypersonic cruise missiles. The new SLBMs appear larger than the existing Pukuksong 5 and feature a blunter warhead, suggesting an increased payload capacity. And its newly developed hypersonic cruise missiles appear similar to Russia's supersonic anti-ship cruise missile. The report warned that South Korean Navy vessels around the northwestern islands could fall within these missiles' strike range. And the land postal route connecting Sinuiju, North Korea, and Dandong, China, officially resumed services on September 25th. Now, that's according to China's State Post Bureau on Friday, which said it aims to offer greater convenience for people in both countries to send and receive mail. The reopening signals progress in normalizing relations and suggests potential momentum for stalled economic exchanges, like the new Yalu River Bridge opening, which has been on hold since North Korea closed its borders in 2020. Meanwhile, senior diplomats of South Korea and the United States have met in Seoul for a rare strategic dialogue ahead of a leaders' summit expected later this month. Vice Foreign Minister Park Yun-ju held the 10th ROK-U.S. Strategic Dialogue with U.S. Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs Allison Hooker on Friday, marking the first such meeting held since 2021. Ahead of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Leaders meeting in Gyeongju City this month, the two deputy ministers are likely to coordinate a summit between Presidents Lee Jae-myung and Donald Trump. Other key issues include ways to modernize the bilateral alliance, regional security, and Korean Peninsula affairs. A leading expert on Korean Peninsula affairs, Hooker played a key role in the U.S.-North Korea negotiations during the first Trump administration. Now, on the economic front, South Korean stocks continue to rally as the benchmark KOSPI hit another record high today, closing above 3,600 points for the first time. Meanwhile, the Korean currency continues to weaken against the U.S. dollar, with the $1 exchange rate now trading at its weakest level in 5 months. Our Park Jun-an explains more.
South Korea's benchmark KOSPI closed past the 3,600 mark for the first time on Friday, the first session after the long Chuseok holiday, which kept markets closed for a week. The KOSPI opened at just over 3,598, up 1.38% from last Thursday's close. It then briefly touched the 3,600 mark during the day and closed at over 3,610 points, a 1.73% increase since Thursday last week. The main sectors that drove the market were semiconductor and nuclear power plant-related stocks, such as Samsung Electronics, SK hynix, and Tusan Enerbility. The three stocks gained 6.07%, 8.22%, and 14.97% respectively.
During the Chuseok holiday, when the South Korean stock market did not open over in the U.S., AI sentiment improved as OpenAI and AMD agreed on chip supply and investment cooperation. Tusan Enerbility today also gained on rising power demand, driven by large-scale AI-related capital spending, with nuclear power seen as a key stable energy source.
On the foreign exchange market, the $1 rate soared and closed at 1,421 Korean won per US dollar, up 21 won since Thursday last week. This marks the highest level in 5 months, mainly due to sluggish tariff deal talks between Seoul and Washington, the ones accompanying weakening with the Japanese yen's depreciation, and the recent rising dollar index. Although the dollar index has gone down by over 10% since its yearly high, the $1 exchange rate has gone down by 4.5%, which alludes to the weakening of the Korean won.
In recent weeks, the key factor behind the $1 fluctuations has been uncertainty over how South Korea will allocate its $350 billion investment in the U.S. Also, the yen's weakness following Japan's leadership change and policy expectations has weighed on the Korean currency.
As the KOSPI has ridden a wave of record-breaking gains in the past few months, investors remain cautious about looming tariff talks and the persistent strength of the U.S. dollar, which could negatively affect future investor sentiment. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
At the National Assembly, with the first parliamentary inspection under the current administration set to begin on Monday, the ruling and opposition parties have pledged to scrutinize policy agendas and other contentious issues. Our political correspondent An Sung-jin tells us more.
The National Assembly will launch its first parliamentary audit of the Lee Jae-myung administration next Monday. From October 13th till November 6th, 17 standing committees of the National Assembly are to inspect over 830 government departments and agencies. The ruling and opposition parties are gearing up for some fierce political clashes amid a series of controversial issues, with both the former Yoon Suk-yeol administration and the current government in their crosshairs. The ruling Democratic Party's primary focus is on addressing the actions of the previous administration.
This parliamentary audit is about clearing the remnants of the Yoon administration's insurrection. We are committed to addressing the damage caused by the previous government's illegal actions and policy failures.
Intense scrutiny is expected on the Justice Ministry, Defense Ministry, Foreign Ministry, and Interior Ministry, alongside controversial policies from the previous administration, including the increase of medical school quota and the Blue Whale project to search for potential oil and gas reserves in the East Sea. The DP is also likely to bring up its allegations of political bias and election interference against Supreme Court Chief Justice Cho Hee-dae. Meanwhile, the main opposition People Power Party vowed to expose the current administration's policy failures and mismanagement.
The People Power Party has three key objectives during the parliamentary inspection: defending freedom and fairness, restoring economic growth, and ensuring transparency in government operations.
Lawmakers are expected to press the government on the economic impact of U.S. tariffs as well as mounting concerns over inflation and instability in the real estate market. Other contentious issues likely to come up include the recent government IT system outage and the arrest of the former Korea Communications Commission chairwoman, who has subsequently been released. With both the ruling and opposition parties vowing to leave no stone unturned, the two sides are expected to clash head-on over a wide range of issues. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, President Lee Jae-myung, despite being officially on leave, visited the National Information Resources Service in Daejeon this morning, the site of a data center fire 2 weeks ago that has caused a massive outage across hundreds of government services. The presidential spokesperson Kim Nam-jun said he was briefed on the recovery process and met with staff who have been working to restore the damaged systems, even during the Chuseok holiday. The president emphasized the need for a swift recovery and strong preventive measures and ordered the creation of a safe working environment for those on site. As of Friday noon, 30.6% of the affected systems have been restored. Over in the Middle East, the first phase of a U.S.-brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has now been officially approved by Israel's government, marking a breakthrough after 2 years of war in Gaza. The deal promises the release of all remaining hostages and an end to fighting, but questions remain about what comes next. Our Buneiran reports.
Israel's government has approved a ceasefire resolution that includes the release of all hostages held in Gaza, both the living and the remains of the dead. The vote came late Thursday night local time, clearing the way for the first phase of U.S. President Donald Trump's peace plan to take effect. Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner attended the meeting, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu personally thanked them for their work.
We know that it's for the benefit of Israel and the United States, for the benefit of decent people everywhere, and for the benefit of these families who will finally get to be with their loved ones.
Trump said the release of hostages could happen soon and hinted at a visit to the region as early as Sunday.
I think it's the hostages will be coming back Monday or Tuesday. I'll probably be there. I hope to be there.
Under the deal, Hamas will free all remaining Israeli hostages in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. Israeli troops will begin withdrawing from parts of Gaza, and fleets of trucks carrying food and medical aid will surge into the territory, with the United Nations declaring full support. But implementation of the plan raises difficult questions about what comes next, including whether Hamas will disarm, how a full Israeli withdrawal will unfold, and who will govern Gaza once the fighting stops. To help oversee those next steps, AP News reported that U.S. officials said a new coordination center is being established, staffed by about 200 American service members with expertise in logistics, transportation, security, and engineering. A senior defense official reportedly said no American troops will enter Gaza, but they'll help monitor the ceasefire's implementation and the transition into a civilian administration in the territory. Celebrations and praise poured in from around the world, including South Korea. In a statement issued by its foreign ministry spokesperson, Seoul said it highly values President Trump's leading proposal for this agreement, as well as the mediation efforts of neighboring countries in the region. It also pledged to actively participate in international efforts to promote peace in the Middle East. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Shifting gears, it seems Koreans still can't get enough of their favorite comfort food, ramyeon. According to the World Instant Noodles Association, Koreans ate 4.1 billion packs of ramyeon last year, or about 79 per person, making them the second biggest ramyeon lovers in the world after Vietnamese consumers. Until 2020, Korea held the top spot, but Vietnam has since taken the crown. Industry experts say while the popular noodle dish began in Korea as an affordable meal during tough times, in Southeast Asia, it's often eaten as a light snack, boosting their per-person tally. And Korean food took center stage at the world's largest food fair, marking a significant push for K-food into the rapidly growing European market. Our economics correspondent Moon Ji-young has more.
This year's Anuga, one of the world's top 3 food fairs, saw a Korean pavilion securing a main booth in the center of the exhibition hall. As the fair's first-ever partner country, South Korea operated a dedicated K-food pavilion, garnering much acclaim. The event, held in Cologne, Germany, drew 8,000 companies from 118 countries with 160,000 food and distribution industry officials. The Korean pavilion showcased an array of foods, including beloved traditional staples such as kimchi, tteokbokki, and ramyeon. A broad display highlighted the immense popularity and innovative drive behind K-food's global surge. Fueled by growing global interest in K-culture, this momentum is now accelerating the expansion of iconic K-food deeper into the European market. Capitalizing on this trend, Nongsim caught attention by prominently featuring characters from its recently released collaboration product, K-pop Demon Hunters, at the front of its booth.
There's a lot of ramen, a lot of flavors, and they're all pretty spicy, which I like, because this spice makes it really addictive, and I really like it a lot. And yeah, all I can say, I really like Korean ramen.
While K-food exports have traditionally focused on Asia and North America, this heightened visibility at the event underscores a strategic shift. Domestic food companies are now clearly poised to accelerate their efforts in penetrating the rapidly growing European market, signaling a robust future for K-food on the global stage. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News.
K-pop girl band Twice today released a special album titled 10 The Story Goes On to mark the group's 10th anniversary this month. The album features the lead track Me Plus You, along with solo songs from each of the 9 members. On the same day, BLACKPINK's Jisoo dropped her new single Eyes Closed in collaboration with Zayn, a former member of One Direction. It's her first solo release in 8 months and follows BLACKPINK's latest track Jump, released just 3 months ago.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. Hungarian writer László Krasznahorkai has been awarded the 2025 Nobel Prize in Literature for his powerful explorations of modern chaos and the human spirit. The Swedish Academy praised him as a master of the long form, capturing the struggle between hope and despair. Born in Hungary in 1954, Krasznahorkai first gained international acclaim with Satatango and The Melancholy of Resistance, which were both adapted into films. Critics call his work haunting and lyrical, blending realism and philosophy to question how people endure uncertainty. In a statement, he said the prize, quote, belongs to everyone who still believes in language. The Nobel Committee will announce the Peace Prize later this week. And in the United States, the government shutdown enters its 9th day, with President Donald Trump declaring he will restore operations only after removing programs, quote, favored by Democrats. Around 750,000 federal workers remain furloughed or unpaid. Essential services from transport to food assistance are still under strain. Trump says he'll cut funding for green energy and urban aid while keeping military spending intact. Democrats accuse him of, quote, weaponizing the budget for political gain. Meanwhile, markets have reacted mildly, but analysts warn prolonged closure could slow fourth quarter growth. Talks will resume on Friday as both parties face pressure from public workers and investors. In India, police have arrested the owner of a pharmaceutical company after a cough syrup was linked to the deaths of at least 21 children. The victims, all under 5-year-olds, died in Madhya Pradesh over the past month after being prescribed the cough syrup known as Coldriff. Investigators found it was contaminated with diethylene glycol, a chemical used in antifreeze that can be fatal even in small amounts. Police have arrested the owner of Coldriff manufacturer Srezan Pharma, charging him with culpable homicide and drug adulteration. India's health ministry has banned the syrup in several states and ordered wider testing of children's medicines. The World Health Organization has asked whether contaminated batches were exported abroad, as children in Gambia and Uzbekistan have died from Indian-made cough syrup in the past. In New York, more than 250,000 fans are flooding into Comic-Con 2025. And this year, K-content is taking center stage. Attendees packed the gov't Center dressed as their favorite characters. Organizers expect about 250,000 visitors over the 4 days, celebrating everything from comics and anime to gaming and wrestling. And Korea's presence is unmistakable as a new K-content pavilion showcases hit webtoons like Solo Leveling and True Beauty alongside the voice cast of K-pop Demon Hunters. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
From today to tomorrow morning, it is expected to rain mainly over the Seoul metropolitan area, Gangwon-do province, and Chungcheongbuk-do province due to the rain clouds moving eastward from overseas. The expected rainfall will be 20 to 60 millimeters in northern parts of Gyeonggi-do province and northern parts of Gangwon-do province. This rain is expected to continue until early next week. On Sunday, it will rain in southern Gyeonggi-do province, Gangwon-do province, and the Chungcheong-do provinces, and then spread to the southern parts of the country during the night. It will rain all over the country on Monday and Tuesday. Saturday morning will start off at 18 degrees Celsius in Seoul, Daejeon, and Daegu, 21 degrees in Busan. Highs will move up to 23 degrees in Seoul, 28 degrees in Daegu and Busan. It is expected to rain over the eastern and southern parts of Gangwon-do province on Wednesday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Now that's all we have for this edition of Arirang News. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for our panel session coming up next.